Let's do this.
And get off my lawn!
Hi, thanks for coming by. I'm CJ and this is Geezer Gab. First things first, because the algorithm likes it, I have to ask you to like and subscribe. But honestly, why would you? You don't know me or this channel. Fair enough. But when you come back and watch another video, go ahead and do it then. I've wanted to start something like this for a long time, maybe decades. I just had to wait to get old enough. So why now? The catalyst came when I was watching some YouTube retro videos. You know, the ones that talk about how different life was for boomers and Gen Xers back in the day. Both reactors and people leaving comments would ask, was it really like that? Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no, sometimes sorta, and that's where I come in. So is this a history channel? Yeah, maybe a little. I'm certainly going to talk about historical things, but it's also a nostalgia channel for those of us of a certain age who want to spend a moment or two remembering back to the times when we were younger. In that way, the channel is about bridging the generations as well as helping us know or remember who we are and who we want to be. So, all in all, it's mostly a context channel. To do that, I'm giving one boomer's perspective on the interesting times we've lived through from about 1960 onwards. And from my own memory, from when I was old enough to understand and remember the things going on around me from about 1965 onwards. Your mileage, meterage, may vary. Okay, so who am I? I'm a boomer, which for those who aren't sure what that means, it's the generation born from the start of 1946, right after World War II, through the end of 1964. And that covers a span of about 19 years. As I record this, I'm currently in my mid-60s, which means that I'm also a member of the boomers known as Generation Jones. The term is defined a few ways, but perhaps the most common is describing the younger boomers, those born in the 60s, from 1960 through 64. I'm an American. I've never been outside the US, but that doesn't mean I haven't traveled a bit. I've mostly lived in LA, the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area, and New Mexico, at least twice in each, which meant crossing the country by car several times, which in international terms is like crossing Europe from Lisbon to Moscow a few times. I'm a nerd, and at least in the past, I was even called a nerd by other nerds, whatever that means. I was also an athlete, tennis mostly, with basketball on the side. I have a bachelor's degree, and my primary areas of study were computer science and psychology. I've had a variety of jobs over the decades, ranging from late-night convenience store clerk to working in rocket science. At present, I'm an artist, writer, and apparently a YouTuber. Despite the idea that all boomers skated through and just took all the riches of the kingdom to line their pockets, the facts are less absolute. For example, I've never been well off. Because of the large numbers of older boomers, those in Gen Jones, the 60s boomers, were often like the youngest child in a really large family. We got the name, but we also got a lot of the hand-me-downs. In some ways, we have more in common with later generations than with our own. Even so, the economic realities of 60 years ago have some differences from today, which will be something we talk about. That means there's going to be an awful lot of adjusting for inflation in these videos. I need to mention that I belong to no political party. It even says so on my voter card. not an independent either. I'm officially not aligned. See, here's the thing. I was raised in a politically conservative household while often living in liberal areas of the country. My views aren't dogmatic one way or the other. Even so, they haven't shifted a lot since I became an adult, but the political landscape certainly has. Because of the historical aspects of this channel, there really won't be any honest way to avoid talking about politics. I want to be clear that that's not the intended focus for this channel, nor a rabbit hole I really want to go dive down. But it's also one I can't ignore, so fair warning. But the channel isn't going to be solely about remembering the past and doing some sort of commentary on how things are different today. It's also going to be, at times, about products. Sometimes it'll be about historical products, some still with us, many long forgotten. Sometimes about stuff that just made an impression, regardless of any great cultural impact. And yes, there might be some reviews of things that I use that I just think are nifty. In all of this, if a product is still available, I'll post links, sometimes affiliate links, other times just to where you can find it. There might also be times when I simply post a random video about something I want to talk about. It could be a current event. It could be about some meme that is particularly on brand, or a book or a TV show. It might just be talking about life or things that make me go, Overall, these islands will be me trying to avoid burnout. I've blogged and vlogged at various times over the years, and I know what the grind can be like. And I will also be posting shorts, but that's not what the thrust of the channel is. And what those shorts are going to be is still to be determined. That's all fine and good, but what sorts of things will I actually be talking about? Well, I don't want to commit to stuff I haven't recorded yet, but among the things on my list of possible topics are homework, cars, Olympics, phone culture, highways, football, music, and yeah, the larger social and political things. How long will the vids be? The flippant answer is as long as they need to be. Right now, depending on the subject, I'm targeting between 5 and 20 minutes to start. The upper limit just happens to be the max file size I can record on the aging camera I'm using without a cut. In practice, it'll be a minute or two shorter than that. If I get to the point where I can get a better camera, this might change. Thing is, like all YouTube channels, it's going to evolve, and we're going to figure this out together. Unfortunately, I won't be including any of the great music of the era. The reason is simple. I don't want the copyright hassle. That doesn't mean you will only get my fugly mug. I will be including public domain and fair use materials when I can. So, to wrap this intro up, I want to say that a big motivation for me is to help younger generations have a contextual foundation. I like the younger generations. I always have. As influential as the boomers have been, it's the young adults of each generation who have the privilege of inheriting the very same mandate as the boomers did. Make the world the one you want. No one ever really succeeds with that. It could be argued that the boomers have only succeeded in boxing everything up. We'll talk about that too. We had a saying back in the way back, don't trust anyone over 30. What that actually means is always be wary of the establishment. It's as true now as then. How? Context. If you understand what came before, you can hopefully avoid some of the same mistakes. And maybe gather up and nurture the positives so you can make them mighty on your own. That's why I'm here. So, welcome to those wanting context and also to those wanting to remember. Let's have some fun. And remember, liking is groovy and subscribing is far out. I'm CJ, and I'll see you next time.